How you guys doing? And welcome to chapter 1 of this course. Some people have asked me, why residual income? Why passive income? Why royalties income? How did you stumble into it? Why are you so excited about it that you're taking your time to keep chasing it up until now? And I believe it's because of my story, my journey, and where my journey has taken me to. When I was about 8 years old, I woke up in the middle of the night in a dark pitched room, and I could hear someone crying in the background. And as I woke up, I realized it was my mother. And I asked her, "Mom, why are you crying?" And she told me she's not crying. Took me to the washroom, brought me back, and talked me into sleeping. As I sleep, I could still hear her sobbing almost all throughout the night. I woke up in the morning to find out that my mother was nowhere to be found while we're trying to pray. And I gathered my siblings together and I was telling them that, hey, I did see something happen and our mother is not here, she's usually here. I looked into the wardrobe and all of her clothes were all gone and she was nowhere to be found. And I started sharing this experience with my sibling and all of us just gathered together and we were just devastated that she's absconded and she has left us. Let me backtrack a little bit and give you guys a little background so you understand the type of family I come from. My mother had 10 kids. One of them didn't survive. He ended up being 9. My mother could neither read nor write. She never really went to school. My father was nowhere to be found, disappeared for so many years, trying to look for a greener pasture and get hooked up somewhere. So we did not grow up with any form of electricity. There was almost absolutely no water. We used to walk almost 2 kilometers to buy water, put it on our head to bring fresh, clean water into the house. We used to have a well in the house that we used to fetch for the things that we needed that didn't require too much of clean water. We had a really, really happy, fun family. My mother sold food for a living. And, I really didn't like school much, so if I didn't miss school, it doesn't really matter. We played a lot with all the local community kids. We were very happy, but extremely limited. So no cartoons, not all the day of these extras while growing up. Let me bring you back to my story. As me and my siblings sat down there thinking about my mother and what she had now that she has absconded and what we will be able to do, in that confusion, all of us just gathered and started crying in one way or the other. And as we were doing that, we just found a woman walking into the house. And as she walked into the house, we found out that, hey, this is our mom. We all ran around, gathered around her, hugged her and told her, Mama, where did you go? We can't find your clothes. We can't find you. We thought you left us. She looked us straight in the eyes and said, I would never leave you guys. And then she told us, she's gone, that if we realized we haven't gone to school for the last few days, that she's taken the best of her clothes and that she's gone to be able to sell them, so that she can gather money to be able to send us to school. And at that point in time, it dawned on me how much sacrifice someone could pay for education for someone like me. And I promised her, I looked her straight in the eyes and I said, Mama, I'm going to go to school and I'm going to take this school very seriously. And when I grow up, I'm going to buy you a lot of clothes. I'm going to make sure that you have a house that has electricity, and I'm going to make sure that I take care of you for all of the sacrifice. And I went to school and I took it very seriously from that day on, knowing that there's a lot of sacrifice for me going to school. And I meant it. Fast forward a couple of decades after, everything seems to be fine. Me and my family have started regularizing. Majority of my siblings have started living in Europe. I moved into Canada. Everything seems okay. But my mother started falling sick and she was living in Lagos, Nigeria. And then we sent her to clinics. The first clinic said she had malaria. She still kept falling sick after being treated for malaria. The second clinic she went to said she went to typhoid. She did multiple tests. All the results came back: malaria, fever, typhoid, nothing serious. But she still kept being sick. So my siblings and I all gathered together and say, hey, you know what? Why don't we bring her to Europe, let her do a medical checkup and see what exactly is going on with her? So we brought her to Europe, to the Republic of Ireland, in my sister's place. And we took her to the hospital. As soon as we got to the hospital, the doctor told us, wow, if only you had brought your mother a little earlier. Your mother is on a stage 4 cancer. Her cancer is so little that if you had brought her a little bit, a little chemo, a little bit treatment, she could have survived. But because this is later, she's at stage 4, she only has less than 6 months to live, and there's nothing that we can do about it. 5 months, 5 days after, my dear, 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 dear mother died. I never got to be able to buy her those clothes. I never got to be able to buy her that house. I never got to be able to give her all that promises and the big life that I promised her. And the most painful part of it is I did not have time to go spend with her. I was newly in Canada, just getting into a workforce, and my work wouldn't allow me, because I only had like 2 weeks vacation a year, to be able, and I could not be able to live to Europe. And I wasn't there by her side for those 5 months and 5 days. And it got on me, and I started thinking, what if I had a little bit more money earlier? Would it have been okay to send her abroad faster and earlier, because money was a limitation for us not getting her there as soon as fast as possible? What if I had a little bit more of time? Would it have been nicer to spend 5 months, those precious 5 months, and cry and laugh and go through that pain with her for 5 months and 5 months and 5 days? Would it have been good if I could have been able to do that? So I didn't have any time. I didn't have any money. And somebody that sacrificed the most for me left just like that. So I made up my mind. Whatever I do in Canada, I'm going to make sure that I do it so really well that I would be able to reinvest anything that comes into my hands into things that can give me residual income. And that's exactly what I did. So in Canada, we got married, my wife and I. We decided we were going to get into the corporate world. I had a mentor who taught me how to be able to get in. And lucky enough for me, my first real serious transition was a 6-figure job. And my wife as well got into the BA job working as a contractor. Both of us, household income became really nice. We tried not to spend more than 30% of our income, and we were investing and saving about 70% of that, because we had a goal that when we are in our middle 30s, we should be able to live life as much as we wanted. I transitioned between jobs to a point that I became a director with a major regional bank in Alberta. Life seems to be good, multiple 6 figures. My wife was a contractor. She was earning good enough. And we invested in multiple things here and there, including some of them in some retail companies here and there. And it seems to be solid good. Real estate, properties, a lot of few things. Then one day we woke up. Oil prices dropped from $129 to less than $29. I'll give you guys a little background. I'm from Calgary, Alberta, which is one of the highest oil producing regions in the whole of Canada. And the province and the city is heavily dependent on oil and oil income for its existence. When oil price dropped globally from $129 to less than $29, the entire dynamics of the city changed. Within a short period of time, 2 to 3 months, a lot of people lost their jobs. And myself and my entire executive team all got laid off. When we got laid off, it really pained me that someone could have so much control on how much vacation I have, how much money I make, what time to let go of us, what time to be able to be part of it. And I just wanted a little bit more control. But then I thought I could rely on the businesses that we invested in. And then what happened to the businesses is we invested in one of the retail clothing companies that a few friends came together, put hundreds of thousands of dollars together to be able to buy. Downtown core, beautiful place. And we're like, okay, at least this was going to. Our overhead for running that business was over $25,000 just to open our store, for rent, for utilities, for employees, for staff, and all of that. Did you know that nobody practically showed up to buy when the entire city was in panic and everybody needed to save their money? Nobody was buying. Within 2-3 months, we had to shut down that place, running into debts on the business that we invested hundreds of thousands, if close to $1 million on. The real estate that we bought that we thought was really good, the rental market was giving us a significant amount of cash flow. What happened is people started moving out of the city to another city. What we used to rent for $1,500 started becoming $900. 1,000, and now for the first time we had to take money out of our personal pockets to be able to meet up with the rental difference. Within another 6 months, we invested in some POS company that seems to be doing good. We woke up one morning and the entire company disappeared, and all of the income that we were expecting to come from it all of it disappeared. The long short story of all of this is almost everything that we thought was a solid way of doing things, all of them, at one way or the other, got crumbled. And it was that time that it dawned on me that I've put too much of who I was, my source of income, on things that were not recession proof, on things that were not passive income based, and I focused too much on some few set of things that is not in alignment with me. What if I was invested significantly in a diversified way in residual royalty-based income that are completely recession-proof, that even if one gets affected, there are still multiple that can sustain the lifestyle that we've created? And it was that time that it dawned on me that I've been bitten twice in my life, and the formulas that I've used didn't really work. And then we had to rebuild and restructure this whole entire structure from beginning. And that's the very first time somebody introduced to me another residual-based opportunity that had a way of me partnering up with companies that were into internet, were into cell phone, were into electricity, were into gas. And what they told me is, listen, these are essential services that regardless of whatever the economy does, people will still use it and you're secured. And I got involved in that. It became very successful. And then my journey and my path to the new residual income started. And now, fast forward a couple of years later, the world went into another crazy economy with COVID-19, oil prices still down, and all of those kind of things. And I survived instead of going down. We were striving in the middle of a huge pandemic and oil prices being down again. And this is the reason why we created this course, so I can share with you my journey, my failure, my mistakes, so it could be a benefit for any of you and make it good enough for you. Finally, the stroke that broke the camel's back was when I was turning 40 some few days ago actually. And we were planning a private exclusive party for a few of our friends in our place, just to celebrate it and to launch one of the books that I was co-writing with a few other people. And because of the pandemic, the city where we're living, December 13th, decided that they were going to shut down the city and prohibit any human gathering of any form, either privately or publicly, in the city. This was December 13th. My birthday was December 23rd. So all of a sudden, we had to put the birthday on hold, let the vendors know it wasn't going to happen, change the plan. And I called up a few of my friends and I was like, guys, I have this private island called Isla Mujeres in Mexico. Why don't we all just go to this place and share my 40th? You are my closest friends. Let's go spend some good time in Mexico. And all my friends were excited initially, but majority of them came back, and one of the major reasons they were having is not traveling there. It wasn't COVID-19, it wasn't coming back. That was not their concern. It wasn't even the money to go that was a concern. The major concern was, listen, if we take this trip and we come back into Canada, we have to quarantine for 2 weeks. And if we have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and we've already taken 1 week off work, how are we going to pay our bills? How are we going to pay our mortgage? How are we going to pay? This is going to put us in a really, really, really bad financial shape. And I'm like, taking 3 weeks off work in a whole year will put you in a bad financial state because you cannot go to work. It means that almost everybody I know has been exchanging their time for money. They've been involved very aggressively in passive income, and they cannot even enjoy the precious moments of now just because they have to rely on an income to be able to pay something as basic as mortgage. Then it dawned on me that my wife and I, in the last 3, 4, 5 years, we've mastered the act of residual passive income and royalties income. We've made our mistakes and our failures, and we've got to a point that we've mastered this thing, and we cannot share it with our friends. And then we made up our mind that we were going to spend the next few months just to start teaching this course, to start putting it out there and start letting our friends be able to know that your journey is not to become one crazy millionaire or make hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yes, you can if you want to, but at least you can have something on the side that can give you a little time so you can spend more on the things that are most important. And that's how we got to this book and we got to this chapter. I'm excited sharing this with you. I cannot wait to be able to break it, get into the world of what this is, and let's just do something really fun. I'll see you guys in chapter 2. Thank you.